Welcome to the All Outdoors Photography Podcast. This podcast is about all things outdoor photography, including landscapes, wildlife, macro, and more. The show features two talented photographers, Henry Doyle and Ryan Taylor, who bring their different experiences in photography to the podcast. The show is released weekly every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so I hope you sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. In today's episode, Henry and Ryan talk about one of the most photogenic seasons there is for outdoor photography, autumn. They talk about the various subjects you can find, such as wildlife, landscapes, macro, and waterfalls, and different camera settings they may use during this particular season. We hope you enjoy the many creative composition ideas that we come up with for the episode, and enjoy this season of photography just as much as we do.
Welcome back to episode 47 of the All Outdoors Photography Podcast, and today we have a very seasonal episode for you all.
Yes, we do. We're talking about all things autumn and fall photography, which I know for a lot of landscape and wildlife photographers alike, it's a very exciting time of the year.
Yeah. And before we start, I just want to mention that we do have a Patreon. There's plenty of benefits in there. We've got 3 different tiers. You can do portfolio reviews, participate in exclusive live streams, get access to a Discord server, all kinds of things. So if you're interested in that, just check the links below, and it can take you to that.
Definitely, yeah. We really appreciate your support.
So we've been gone for a bit. We took a bit of a break. So what's been going on with you, Ryan?
Yeah, it's funny. We've been taking a break from the show and everything, which is actually been kind of great in a way, just to kind of unwind and focus on other areas of life or photography. So I've actually been taking a break from Instagram. So far it's been at least a couple weeks, but it feels like it's extended to months. In my head, I guess, but. That's been pretty great, honestly, just kind of stepping away and just focusing on just creating stuff or working on stuff, because I'm still like doing the same I would normally do, but I'm just not like actively promoting it, so it's been a pretty nice break, and I've been really enjoying that. So I'm not sure when or if, honestly, if I'll come back, but I'm thinking sometime soon. I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, I've been doing lots of festivals. Most of those have been going very, very well. Just meeting people, making sales, networking, making connections. I had more recently I did a Friday night little gallery reception. I was a guest artist here in the area where I'm at, and so it was really nice of them to invite me out for an evening just to have a small pop-up display in this little gallery building with some studios and stuff. So that was really cool. And probably the most exciting thing, honestly, is I took a big 3-day trip, at least big for me, to Hocking Hills here in Ohio, which I know a lot of people from probably around the country even, are pretty familiar with that place. But this is my very first visit, and I basically just went there with a big agenda and an open schedule for 3 days. And I pretty much really just immersed myself in the whole area. I actually slept in my car, which is pretty kind of, I don't want to say frightening, but it was just kind of tense for a little while, but I got used to it pretty easily. For 3 days, I filmed 3 separate videos at different locations for the YouTube channel. Took tons and tons of photos, hundreds at least, with the DSLR camera, of course, and lots of phone, video, photo. So I'm probably gonna make some blog posts, maybe some multi-part series there as well. We'll see. And I'm still editing the photos as we speak, but they're looking really, really great. And it's everything from waterfalls, the classic, scenic places that people go to there. And then other kind of more intimate landscapes. I didn't really do much wildlife or anything else, but I pretty much only shot with my wide angle lens, I think. I did do some star night trail stuff at the astronomy park, the John Glenn Astronomy Park, because it was just a clear night, the couple of nights I was there, so I made a trip up there as well. So yeah, it was just really, really fun. It was really rejuvenating, I guess, to say the least. Just kind of living out of the car, driving around the region, and just doing it all by myself too, which is really fun. So I'm definitely gonna do more of those trips in the future, but this really kind of kickstarted that more traveling kind of mindset I'm going for now with photography and otherwise. But yeah,
Awesome.
Other than that, I've just been contentedly working away, really. So, but I'm really excited to get back to the show, of course, too. So that's pretty much it.
Cool. That's awesome. You've been up to a lot, and it's good to see that you were able to take a step away from Instagram and still create just like you normally would.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Mhm.
almost create more. I'd say with the more time
Yeah.
you get too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So what's been new with you?
Well, I haven't been doing a lot of physical shooting, but I think I probably since we talked, I've probably been out 5 times. That's just because of school, starting my senior year, applying to colleges. I was in a play, all that stuff. But I have been working on a lot of online stuff. I've been doing a bunch of presentations with different camera clubs and different organizations, so that's been really fun. Um, I've I've worked on a calendar that I've got the proofs coming to me. So if that looks good, I'll be releasing that soon. Let's see what else. I've been enjoying the little shooting I have gotten to do. I've been enjoying my new lens a lot. I got a 100 to 500 about almost 2 months ago now. That's been fun to play around with, and gotten some pretty cool shots with that. And yeah, besides that, next week, well, actually Wednesday. Um, so by the time you're listening to this, I would have already been. Uh, I'm going to North Carolina for 3 days. I'm going to be seeing a college, but I'm also going to be doing a ton of shooting out there, Asheville, North Carolina. So hopefully I'll find some black bears and maybe some elk and some nice mountain landscapes. So yeah, that's what I've been up to.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I like it. Quite the variety too.
Oh yeah, yep. And I can't say what yet, but I also I got a summer trip planned that I'm very excited for. So a photography related trip. So I also was planning that.
That'll be next summer. You're saying?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Cool, man. Awesome. Yeah, it's really cool. That, yeah, just seeing you do all these different webinars and stuff. Since I watched your first one and just talking more about what you love to do and stuff too. So
Thank you.
yeah, it's
Thank you.
pretty awesome. I haven't done much shooting myself, but like you said, the time you get to spend actually doing it, it's almost kind of like more fulfilling that way too.
Mm-hmm. And this time of year is really hard to like. I feel like it's not quite fall yet, and then the foliage is still really thick, and it's just a lot of green. So uh, I think we're
Yeah,
starting to transition into that better season, but it is really hard to shoot uh,
well,
in these
it's
times
been
for me.
tough, and yeah, not even the politicize it with like the climate change debacle,
Oh
but it's
yeah.
like definitely. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just like it's been still. I don't know about you, but it's probably been similar. Weather
Mhm.
conditions. It's been still very, very warm. I mean,
Oh
there's been
yeah,
a
it
couple like
is so much
cold
hotter than
days,
I
but
remember October used to
yeah,
be. It's
and
crazy.
that just means like those leaves are gonna take longer to change with the chlorophyll and the oxygen and stuff. So I mean, yeah, like you said, it's like a lot of it's still just tons of greenery. Anywhere you go out in the woods or whatever.
Yeah, it's just that means less fall foliage and just like you said, more greenery, and it's definitely getting
I,
worse. But I don't know. I guess we'll just
yeah,
have to learn to deal with it. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, the past couple of years, it's definitely like I feel like been the case where it has gotten just even all year just more warmer and like I wouldn't necessarily say like the foliage is not changing, but it's definitely changing a lot later, like weeks later. So I mean, like I feel like the peak foliage is now like near Thanksgiving. It used to be near Halloween, I thought, but I don't know. It's just always so much more warmer in October, lately at least.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely, even in the mornings for me, like it's like over 70 degrees, and then it just warms up so fast. It's hard.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't even. I mean, it's mid-October right now, and it's getting to the end of the month almost now, and it's like not even hit like the emergence of frost. I don't know about you. I haven't seen any. Maybe I'm just not out early enough. There's been like some morning dew, of course, because it's kind of damp, but like it's still just not there. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's interesting, but
Hmm.
I figured this is a good episode to do now because it's very timely since we are. I think it's both on our minds, very much so.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
So
like we said, this episode is autumn photography. So let's just jump into it. Uh,
yeah,
so
definitely.
so what do you like about shooting in autumn?
Well, after the really hot, sweaty, muggy summers, which I mean, I think the longer I'm, into like going outdoors and stuff, the less I like those. Just sunburnt, bugs swatting at you from all directions and trying to bite you. and everything else. And like, the really long sunny days, and which are, beautiful on their own, but like for photography speaking, just very and drawn out and very high contrast. They're not the most desirable, we'll say. So, and
Mhm.
like you were saying about, you kind of get in a rut almost with just, especially late summer, just kind of like, what do I really shoot? Besides like maybe, I don't know, shorebird migration, the emergence of warblers in the Midwest again, just to name some examples. But basically, yeah, I mean, autumn is great because it just feels like it's a transitionary season. Like it's very much about, just the changing of everything around us. Like I said, migrating birds, the weather kind of changes. Like I feel like there's a lot more overcast days and overcast light, which me is like, my definitely a preference, I guess I'll say, with lighting, or just very fair weather skies. So you can basically shoot out all day if you wanted to. But that's just my opinion. But I mean, like I just like the colors. Obviously, as they change, just seeing them change, and then when they hit that peak color, and just having all these places scouted around that, like I can go to and shoot landscapes of lake reflections, or different intimate landscapes of the leaves that are just falling on the ground. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many different things. Even waterfalls, which I prefer with greenery, like spring or summer foliage, look quite striking even with autumn. Leaves falling around them and everything. Or even hiking around my local gorges, and just all the like I said, the leaves falling on the rocks. Like there's just so much different things you can see, and just to see it all kind of like with spring, kind of the same way. It's like a transitionary time of the year. It's like just seeing it all change and everything and unfold is just quite striking and beautiful. So just lots of fun, just different things to shoot, this time of year.
Oh yeah, it's one of the biggest variety years for or seasons to shoot. I feel like just like you said, the migration is it's not may not be as prominent as spring migration, but you get all kinds of returning species that you just haven't seen for months, and they're just so fun to photograph.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we'll touch on that here for a second, I guess. But like, I know in particular, especially with warblers, the smaller kind of songbirds that pass through. At least here is the Mississippi Flyway, this part of the country, and it's neat, but it's kind of like a double-edged sword because like versus spring, I'll say they're much more colorful in the spring. Their bird song is much more prominent, louder from the males, because they're obviously trying to attract the mates and get nesting territories established, so they're kind of like fighting over that. And the foliage is a lot less prominent, at least in early spring, in mid spring, I guess. So it's easier to spot those brightly colored birds that are singing very loudly, like almost all times of day, even. And that's a much more fleeting and faster paced migration, we'll say. Like they're quick to kind of go in and out, unless if they're a common native breeder of kind of like a species. But in autumn, it's different because it's much more drawn out. It's much more longer migration. They usually take their more time to stock up on food reserves, and they'll take breaks at your local patches, we'll say, and they're much more slower in that migration down south, usually to like South America or Central or Mexico or whatever. And so it's a lot more drawn out, but their colors on the foliage, or excuse me, foliage, the plumage of these birds is a lot more duller in color, both male and female. And you're going to hear a lot less bird song as well. So they're going to be much quieter because they obviously aren't mating this time of year. They're just merely trying to stock up on food and make their maiden voyage down south. So that's just a quick little blurb, but um,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's still a very rewarding time, and you can still see plenty of life for birds, and it's still very very exciting. But you get more time with them, which is neat too. So, but you definitely have to be a much more skilled birder, I think, to see them all, this time of year.
Hmm. Why would you say that? Because of the foliage, or because of the rarity, or?
It's kind of, yeah, all that and more. I mean, it's like what I said with the plumage, or the plumage of the birds, like the colors, they're much more duller, so they're harder to spot. Generally there's a lot more leaves still on the trees, so it can be a little more tricky. And probably the easiest giveaway is that the bird song is much less. It's not quite as loud, or it's basically non-existent really for a lot of species. So like, you really have to be kind of like looking around, or know like, hey, this location consistently, has this, like every season, every autumn or whatever. So it's definitely a lot easier, I think, in spring to point out all these birds, because it's just like an onslaught. If you go to a hot spot, where there's tons of them. Like it's easier to see them and pick them apart, versus autumn at least.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Have you seen any like cool species during like the beginning of fall so far that you're excited about seeing again?
Well, quite frankly, I haven't done birding in quite a long time, honestly, since our break. But I've definitely been
Wow.
vicariously living through like my other friends that are posting online like their different sightings, and it's been very, very
Mhm.
exciting to just to see all the different species that are coming and going, as they make their migration south. Um, so I really haven't done much lately, honestly. I need to get back into it because I've been missing it so much. But just there's a couple local places that just are like magnets almost, or migrant traps, as some people say, to see them a lot. But there's lots of warblers I still haven't seen, that I would like to add to my life list someday. So it's definitely always on. It's always an option.
Awesome. Yeah, I ran into a what's it called, a tufted titmouse. I hadn't seen that since like January, and they're some of my favorite birds, and I was really excited to see that again. I've noticed a lot of woodpeckers are coming back too, at least in my area. Like I even saw a pileated, which is pretty awesome, just
Nice.
in a local park. I did not expect that, but yeah, I've seen a lot of woodpeckers, a lot of those small songbirds, and it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's weird how like the year-round residents, like you said, the titmice or the pileated woodpeckers, like they some of them do migrate, of course, but
Uh
like a
huh.
lot of them do stay year-round and even breed or nest in our areas, where we both live. But like it's neat because I will see more chickadees in the late summer,
Oh yeah,
early autumn.
definitely.
Like in the summer, I don't know, I don't see quite as much, and they aren't as vocal. But like lately, like honestly, birding lately has been my backyard. Like just coming to and from the house or filling up the bird seed, and like I'm hearing nuthatches a lot more lately. Um, you're saying woodpeckers. I haven't seen any yet or heard any, but yellow-bellied sapsuckers are
Oh
making a big
yeah.
push through
Hmm.
the area lately, and that's more of a winter woodpecker or fall, So with the migration and everything. So there's lots to see, and there's a couple of warblers, the yellow-rumped warbler in particular, the murder warbler, as it's sometimes called too. That's one that sticks around for a good while, actually, throughout most of
Yeah.
fall. So it's pretty cool.
So I thanks for educating me. I didn't actually know that titmouse stuck around. I thought they came back, uh, but I definitely see what you mean. I did not see any for months. Like I thought they were completely gone. That's how I don't know what they do during those times, but uh, they just kind of
They're so
disappear.
busy. Yeah, they're so busy. I think raising a family or whatever, gathering food maybe. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, it's something I just noticed. And like I said, a lot of year-round species do migrate. It's just a very choosy kind of selective thing. I'm not sure if that's individual basis or like a flock, kind of basis, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. It's something I noticed over the years. Honestly, it's just like certain species become more prevalent. I'll say in autumn versus like summer or something. It's weird, but it's definitely worth noting.
Yeah. Another thing with autumn too is I like the temperature so much better. I think it's really the
Yes.
perfect balance of hot and cold. You can wear a light jacket or even a heavy jacket, but like you don't have to bundle up. You can wear your normal footwear and just pretty much normal clothes and just kind of stay out for longer periods of time.
Oh man, I definitely agree. It's in like lately, it's been like a nice, if you want to call it cool, 70 degrees, which that's like my ideal temperature. Like I can walk out in t-shirt and shorts and be totally fine. But I mean, like the bugs are pretty much all but going away pretty closely now. And yeah, it's like that just right temperature, and like get a long sleeve shirt on. You really don't need too many layers. I don't, at least for me, quite yet. But like it's just right. It's just yeah, it's like the sweet spot, I guess. Um, compared to like I said, the really muggy, stagnant kind of summer heat.
Basically, it's you really get more photos when you're out in the cold weather because at least for me I'm in a much better mood. I'll do much longer hikes so you can find new areas, and also like you don't have to worry as much about camera gear with humidity and everything. It's just overall it's just much more favorable for photography.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. It's just I do spend a lot more time, like I said, with just the changing colors and everything. And like I said, you got migrating birds. There's just like a lot to see that. Um, I don't know. It's kind of like a welcome change, I'll say, after the dog days of summer. You know, you got many months of just kind of it's good. It's good stuff, like good photography stuff that you can create, I guess, during this month. But like, it's just nice to have like a change of pace. Like,
Oh yeah, definitely. Um, do you also, back to birding a bit? Do you find that you get more raptors in the fall as well? I feel like
yep.
there's definitely more.
Yeah, definitely migrate like any other bird. Spring
Mm.
and fall, but it's especially fall. I think is more particularly like where a lot of raptors definitely do. I know turkey vultures, which we see for most of the year. Honestly, they usually by Thanksgiving, I see the last ones soaring overhead my house or something or anywhere. So I'm still seeing plenty of them, but I think they're all kind of gathering before they make their migration. So you see like 20 of them like doing their soaring in like a circular motion in the sky. It's pretty cool. But yeah,
Yeah.
lots of different hawks are making a good push. I'd say at this time of year. Um, Actually, lately it's been kind of a big deal. But at the world's first airport, Huffman Prairie, there was a prairie falcon, which is
Oh wow.
not unlike yeah, it's not unlike anything we get around this like area of the country, I believe, and it's made its appearance. I think just one individual. I haven't gotten myself to see it, but everyone's getting good looks at it like the past week or two. You know, keeping everyone posted, I guess, about its whereabouts at that prairie, which is pretty awesome. So it's good that you brought up raptors because yeah, that's definitely been a cool sighting for everyone, I guess.
Yeah, that's crazy. You probably don't even get falcons in general, in Ohio. I mean, that's awesome.
I mean, besides like your American kestrel, which I've
Mm.
seen a decent amount of times, and then peregrine falcons, which are much more like I would say urban areas. I think a couple times I've seen them in the city actually, so I wouldn't be surprised at least. Yeah, we don't get too many falcons, not too many around here, so especially not like one of that kind, that caliber.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so what are so we touched on the wildlife subjects already, but so what do you like about shooting landscapes in the fall?
I guess let me add one more thing. Sorry, I just thought about it.
Okay.
But
Yeah, no problem.
non-birds. You also get deer. I just remember that because they go through the rut, in hunting season. So you see a lot of them grow their antlers and everything, this time of year and everything, which is pretty cool. And then they scratch the trees and stuff with the antlers and stuff, or they might even find them falling off too, which is pretty cool. So I mean, it's a cool time of year to see that.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, that's all I had to say about
Okay.
that.
Oh yeah. I did have. I just had a thought. With the deer too. You also get rutting season. I know that's kind of end of summer, start of fall. Um, but you could get the nice rut behavior too. You can make some pretty cool images.
Oh yeah, like the picture of the or like an image of the two males like clashing or whatever. That's pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
or them like peeling off their velvet. Or I've never gotten one personally, but it seems really cool. And I have shot during the rut, and they're definitely more active too.
And a lot more aggressive. You got to imagine. So
Yes, yes. Be
use
careful.
your telephoto lens.
Oh yeah.
Which why wouldn't you? I guess right. So
Uh, yeah, please do. And any deer shots, unless like any deer shots, use a telephoto lens. It's the ethical thing to do. Yeah.
technically speaking and safety speaking, like
Uh
it's
huh.
the best choice.
Yep.
All right, I think that's it for wildlife.
Mhm.
Yeah, landscapes. So this is probably the main draw for me. I'd say with this time of year is the landscapes because you just get um, just tons of I could go on for it. Just the foliage changing and just seeing it transition, um, tree by tree. Because it's neat. Because if you know a lot about like just arboreal stuff like trees and stuff and which species change colors, like there's just so much that goes into it. Like we don't get much reds, like red trees, in Ohio, at least not my area. But like you'll get maples that turn that just that vibrant scarlet, which is really beautiful. Or ginkgo trees, which turn that just golden yellow all over. Those are beautiful. Trying to think of something else. And then the pine trees, of course, stay like the same all year. But deciduous trees speaking, it's just beautiful to see everything just wither away. I guess it gets this beautiful color and just falls off and
Mm-hmm.
becomes the bare tree that it'll be in winter, of course.
Yeah.
So it's just neat. It's neat to capture that kind of beautiful transition motion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you can go into a forest that is incredibly boring during the summer, and in the fall you get these beautiful colors. You get some contrasts. Like you could get a row of trees with like some orange in one, and then like a yellow in the middle. Really, just the sky's the limit there. And the colors, like even on the same tree, the colors will change throughout the fall season too. So you can go back and keep shooting. Granted, that is a very short window, but if you capitalize on it, you can kind of capture some great and unique scenes.
Yeah, 100%. It's kind of like I keep comparing it to spring, but it's honestly like the best comparison of the four seasons. But it's kind of like in spring when the earliest tree buds are at the top of the canopy and it grows downward. It's kind of like the same with autumn, really. Is that the color changes from the top usually, and it makes its way down to however tall the tree is, of course. But it's really neat to see that kind of like almost like a gradient, as it just moves away. But yeah, just something about those nice hikes, a little bit of a breeze and a wind, and it, throws the leaves all around your face, as they fall to the ground, and just the soft crunching of it. Even during rainy days in autumn is really beautiful too, because everything gets that moist, kind of saturated look, which deepens the colors. Of course, it's almost like a natural polarizer filter, which is really cool. So yeah, there's just tons of different things to see, and definitely the woods. And if you can get to a nice big lake and get like a horizon line shot of the tree line and the
Oh
reflection,
yeah. Oh
um,
yes, that
yeah,
reflection. Yeah.
that's one of my favorite things to do is like hit up my local state parks and
Mm-hmm.
just get those big, like wide angle reflections, and just
Mm.
it's really fun to do those. Even on a sunny day, it can be quite striking too. So,
Yeah, I mean,
uh,
in fall too, with the sun is less harsh, so it's easier to shoot in full sun. Granted, it's not, it's still not ideal, but like you definitely have more options when it comes to shooting. I feel like in the height of summer, like if you want to get that, if it's not an overcast day, you can really only shoot early in the morning and late at night for landscapes. So uh,
mhm.
it definitely opens up your options.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like the shorter days as they kind of creep shorter and shorter towards daylight savings. It's like you kind of feel like the time is more valuable because you have less of it, I guess. So definitely what you said. It's kind of like shooting. Like we'll go back to we'll call back to my Hocking Hills trip, for example. Like the 3 days I was there, which I just kind of set aside in a row, of course. Obviously the weather's out of my control, but all 3 days were like pretty much bright, sunny, blue sky, barely any clouds in the sky. So it made shooting kind of difficult because I had to, at least for the best light I wanted, most desirably in my photos, I had to allocate my shooting subjects to the beginning and end of the day. Um, plus with being dropped in a new location, it's like it was kind of daunting because I didn't really know like what to expect. I guess I had maps, but like
Mm-hmm.
not really sure what to get to on foot, and when, of course. But yeah, definitely in fall, it's like it's a lot more cloudier light. It's much more diffused, softer, and shorter days just kind of make it easier to get around and stuff. So it's really beautiful. And then you got full moons and other stuff like that. So just makes it a really nice time of year for landscape photos.
Yeah, it's I definitely agree with that. I think it probably is the best time of year because winter, when it snows, you can get spectacular landscapes, but that's very rare. Autumn, it is still rare, but you got some time to work with that. You can get just really amazing images.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it can change pretty fast too. I mean, like once it hits peak foliage, it's like you got like maybe a week depending on where you are, and it's like the more up in the northern hemisphere you are, the I believe the sooner it is in like the time of year, and it's pretty neat. I don't know if you're like in Kentucky, you have this, but here in Ohio we have our natural resources like department agency. They have a foliage report, and so what they do is they have a big map and they release weekly for like a month and a half. I think it's like October to November. They released weekly like a state park update, like all the state parks in the state about like the conditions and like how much the colors changed and like it has like a
Mm.
good, great, like peak, and then done. So it's got like a rating for each one and it breaks it down. So it's a pretty nice resource, and hope like other places around the world or country have a similar thing set up because it's really useful.
Yeah, that's I need to check that out. I didn't know that existed actually, so that's super cool. I'll definitely
Yeah, I mean,
make use of that in the next couple days for North Carolina. It'll be very helpful.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, I'd hope that every state has their own like equivalent or something like that because it's definitely been useful.
Yeah.
Just if you can't travel far and you want to go to like maybe like a particular region or area or location, it's like it's kind of like the weather report almost. Like, hey, how's the color looking? And you can actually time it, just right. Because every year is a little different. It's fall, so it all usually happens. But I mean, like it's every year is a little different of when it's peak foliage
Mm-hmm.
or whatever.
Yeah, and it depends on the temperature and just
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of things. It's there's quite the science behind it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
lots of variables involved.
I mean, it is the dying of trees. That's what autumn is. So I'm
Yeah,
glad you get some beauty before all those leaves fall off.
yeah, the death of many things, but it's kind of like a new beginning in a way. As you
Mm-hmm.
go into the dormancy of winter, like I don't know if there's really not too many wildflowers out this time of year. Like I guess like early autumn you get like the late summer blooms are still out, like asters and some other stuff. Like I know I have a few um, things growing in my backyard, like some dahlias and zinnias that are still looking pretty nice, even over in mid October. So things stick around quite a bit, but like you said, it's like the weather and temperature does change. Like it makes a big difference on like when things die out or not.
Yeah, definitely. And I will say like winter like is back to the wildlife just a little bit. It's nice when those leaves fall out. I mean, it makes things way easier to spot birds. Just for general birding, even if you're not taking photos, things will start to open up more, allowing you to see more species.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's much easier to view them
Mm.
compared to like even the middle of summer. We'll say when everything's fully leafed out.
Yep. Yep. So the next one here, unless you have any other thoughts on landscapes.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah. So the next one here is it's macro subjects. So the main thing here is leaf compositions, and I know personally I've taken some of my favorite images with leaves in them. One in particular, it was in my last year's calendar. I got there's these two branches, and there was a leaf that perfectly landed like sideways on these branches. Didn't even look like that was able to be possible, but it did. And then the light only hit the leaf, and then it like made this really interesting composition. It's one of my favorites. Definitely, I'll definitely put it in the slideshow. But uh, just playing with leaves and playing with the rest of the fall scene around it can be really cool.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it's neat what you can really come up with. Like I know we just talked about the grand, wide, probably wide angle. We'll say. I guess not every landscape has to be, but the bigger scene in front of you. But like when you really like hunker down and get into like the more smaller, intimate, scenes, it's like there's a lot to see on the woodland floor or I don't know, just something else like that. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot you can definitely work with.
Yep, it's great. My one of my favorite things to do is I will do this occasionally in shots. I will if there's a leaf that is already on the ground, I will place it in my scene occasionally. I know. I'm gonna get hate for it, but it's you can. I don't mess with any environments. I put it back and stuff. Uh, but yeah, I do that sometimes, and it can be pretty darn cool. So.
You're a poser, man.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
it's all good.
fake
There's
photographer.
I know it's fake. You just yeah. I will admit I have done in the past. Like I think once or twice. I can think of one good moment where I found this like all the other leaves falling on the ground. I think it was like 2 Octobers 2 years ago. And it was like all the leaves fell on the ground. They're all kind of just like that mushy kind of gray brown. Like there's all decaying, just from the dryness of the air and everything. But it was a real sunny day, and I was just like kind of not desperate for compositions or just things to shoot, but I was like, I don't know what to do. Like at this place I was at, and I like found this bright like branch, like a small little branch. It wasn't like that big, but it had some opposite opposing leaves and they're like this bright golden color. And I think there's about like two on each side coming up the branch, small little twig, and then one at the top. So it's like a beautiful shape and arrangement. And I literally brushed away like all this dirt and all the leaves and all the the plant matter that was just around this like little spot. And I had this like my tripod extended all the way up, cameras on a top down view. I think it was a macro shot in theory. It doesn't look like it, but it was like an extension to like magnification. And I had this cleanly just placed, and it was just like a vertical like clean shot. I'll include in the slideshow, I guess. And like it's very posed, and like to me it's obvious. Oh, I took it, of course, but like to me it looks very intentional. Like there's no way you could just find it looking that clean, with the surrounding area. But like it honestly was really cool. It was really fun to kind of like create like an image, I guess, so to speak. Not just like photograph like a found object, which I've done, of course, plenty of times. Probably more often than not, than doing this post thing. But that was a really fun thing to do, though.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, arranging scenes like that and just kind of finding even sometimes. I mean, the best shot obviously is when you come across it naturally, but just kind of creating this world around you with these small little objects is really fun.
Yeah, I mean, like macro to me is like all about I mean, any photograph really is, but like especially macro with that kind of finer detail is about simplifying the scene in front of you. And so, like autumn can quite frankly be kind of chaotic with all that color and the leaves everywhere, and just lots of different things going on. Lots of shapes and everything in the image that you might take. But like the macro stuff can really fine tune that your compositions and make everything much more almost kind of minimalist in a way. So yeah, like that kind of shot was very clean to me. Like it was very much arranged, and that was the intention behind it. But I mean, I've definitely found some like just I think one such image is one of my favorites actually, probably of all time that I've taken is like this leaf is like just racing on the side of this felled tree trunk across a creek, and the tree trunk has all these swirls and color in it. And it was an overcast day, but like the color on this, like it was almost like lichen was forming, but it was in like this wavy kind of swaying motion as it kind of meandered on along the tree trunk. And it was just like a yellow leaf that was a really small leaf, but it was curled up and it was just laying there, and I didn't have to arrange it or do anything. Like it was just perfect. All I did was frame it up with like the rule of thirds and take the shot, and it couldn't have been more perfect. I think
Wow.
from like a technical standpoint.
And what angle did you shoot that at? More like a top down or an eye level or?
If I recall, it was kind of like because obviously tree trunk's more round, obviously, but like I think it was just kind of like laying on the cusp of the edge of it, but like not enough to fall off. Like it was, if I recall, it wasn't much wind that day, so it wasn't so much top down as it was kind of like more dead on, actually.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, but it was just one of those like it's one of those rare kind of shots where you're like I've not found the same lighting or just conditions, the subject, like everything aligning perfectly. Like I haven't found like quite like the same thing if I was to ever replicate it again. Like that was like one of those little like magical moments, I guess. Like oh, this leaf just was perfectly placed, and yeah, like everything, like this tree trunk was so unique looking, and everyone, I've printed it before, and people exclaim like, oh, it looks like a painting, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what I was going for, of course, but it was just like, it's neat to hear that people can pick up upon that.
Awesome. Yeah. Make sure you put that one in the slideshow too. That sounds super cool.
Oh yeah, we'll do. I have plenty to work from the back catalog for the slideshow.
I just love the colors on those leaves. Like, even some stay green, but like they're still changed. Like it's like a greenish yellow or a greenish red. And just I don't know. There's so many different. It's a big palette of colors out there. So.
Oh yeah, and it's really cool because like once it gets near peak like color, it's like day by day it can change, which is really like pretty awesome. And like I found leaves. I'm not sure if it's like a sweet gum kind of like leaf or tree or whatever. But I remember there's one time a couple years ago I found like it was literally the leaf was like if you could imagine just wrapped around it was like a gradient. Like it was literally like changing from side to side. So like the one half of it was green, and then it got to yellow and orange, and then like a brown color, and it was like the coolest like a color wheel almost as it just changed. And it was really cool to see that. And I think it was a rainy day too, so it kind of like a much deeper color to it as well. But yeah, neat stuff like that. You just gotta look for it.
Yeah. So what about waterfalls in fall?
Definitely, I need to do more of them. Like I said, I think my preferred is like spring, summer, if I'm being honest. But like definitely in, I know this isn't about winter, but like definitely in winter they can be easier to see, I guess, and less distractions around it. But in fall and autumn, it's like it's like a whole different life to them almost. If you go to like the bigger ones, they're usually flowing still because of all that water and stuff. If it's been like a really rainy season, hopefully at least. Unfortunately, a lot of them, especially the smaller ones, are the ones that like I find in like my local gorges that they just become like a mere trickle or it's just not even existent and they dry up for the season. Probably until late winter or spring, the following seasons. But if you do find like a good flowing one, it's like you get that burst of color, like we keep mentioning. It really just adds this kind of like pizzazz, I guess, to the entire image. So it's definitely
Hmm.
something to look out for. And I feel like people don't. I won't say people don't recognize them, but like I feel like it's like an oft forgotten thing because people usually go towards the woods and stuff. But
Yeah,
if you find,
they kind of
if
just
you find some,
they rule it out completely and they just go into the woods and try to shoot the trees. But waterfalls can be just as cool, if not cooler. So.
yeah, I mean, if you make that like anything else, if you make that the subject and the focal point of your image, but then you also have all that color, it's like it just adds all these different elements, like
Hmm.
visually speaking, that people can see and everything. So, yeah, I definitely say like don't skimp on the waterfalls because like a lot of them do flow, sometimes even all year. So like it's worthwhile to see them and see how they look.
Yeah, they're definitely super cool in the fall. You can get those reflections there too. You could get leaves like in your composition, whether you place them or whether you let them fall naturally. Just all kinds of things. I've even seen shots. I've never taken one, but there's like a pool of swirling water, and there were leaves in that water, so it was
Yes,
like the nice lines. That's definitely a dream shot of mine. But
dude.
yeah, things like that. You could just be super creative.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I didn't even think
Uh,
about that, but there's a good one of the biggest rivers in my area is Great Miami, and like I think about 3 years ago now, I went. It was like an overcast day. I was in like one of these deep, mature, like hardy kind of like tree species, kind of woodland areas at a metro park, and like I was just having an absolute ball. I was doing like just the woodland shots, with just framing up trees and leaves and stuff, doing some like telephoto work in, the same woodland there. And then I took the trail, that meanders along, pretty much parallel to the river. And there's some good swirly like action as because all these leaves are these trees are overhanging like diagonally on on both sides of this river. And I was just like seeing all these leaves falling gracefully, and there's like a light breeze and wind that day and like man, the like swirls you can get with that. And yeah, I mean, you don't even need a waterfall. You can go to a river like that, and you could find some motion and convey that in the image, like in a long exposure style, since there's something that's moving in the frame. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's honestly that's probably one of the best parts about autumn photography.
mhm. Also, I think I've done this before. I don't think the shot was quite like postable, but I was able to catch a leaf in flight, like kind of like a bird in flight. I was kind of able to catch it down. I wasn't too happy with the background. That's why I didn't post it. But stuff like that, just working with the falling leaves, could be really cool too.
Did you do that shot with a fast shutter, the freeze frame it, or did you like blur it?
I did a fast shutter, but now that you say that, that's a good idea too to kind of blur it.
Well, I mean, yeah, it depends on your
Uh
outcome
huh.
or what you want. Like you can abstract
Yep.
it, so to
Hmm.
speak, or you can make like a I mean, I would imagine with the faster the shutter, if you want to like freeze the leaf in motion, you could use like a strobe or a flash or something maybe.
Hmm. Have you
That'd
done
be
a
cool.
lot of Have you done any ICM with that? Like besides
Oh yes,
nice in
oh
the
yeah,
fall too.
yeah. I mean, honestly, if I had to choose one season, that's the best season because like a lot of my ICM abstract. If anyone doesn't know, it's intentional camera movement. Look it up. It's a really cool, neat, artsy kind of way of photography, but yeah, I mean, some of my favorite shots are just the warmth, and it looks like you take these blurry images of just trees changing color, and like it just looks like fire. And if you get a blue sky offset, it's like it just looks like I don't know, it's otherworldly. And this is probably the one form of photography I will say is most well represented, I guess, in midday light, like high noon. because it needs that really just bright color and high contrast. You could do it on a cloudy day, of course, but like that's like the one form of photography that's like I think is just perfect for that lighting. So I do tons of it, this time of year, and it's definitely worthwhile while doing the more traditional imagery on the side too, of course.
Yeah, that's awesome. I definitely need to do more of that with those colors and everything. You just won't get those any time of year in your abstract images besides autumn. So
Hmm.
yeah,
And you could even really like subject matter doesn't matter for this example, but like you could even maybe let's say a waterfall is in the background, but like you frame up the composition so that you pre-focus on the foreground where there's a big rock, like a big wet rock, and it has one leaf hanging out on it, and you focus on that, and you may use a small aperture or a wide aperture. I don't know, just choose one, I guess, but for what you want to get, but like you can make that kind of like a cool foreground element in the image too. So maybe that's just like one idea, or maybe even a challenge for yourself as you go out in the field to maybe try out.
that's awesome. Great ideas here. Hope you don't
Yeah,
mind if I steal some of them. Yeah. Ooh,
no, you go ahead.
yeah.
I haven't copyrighted these techniques, I promise.
Yeah.
Buy
So
my book at my website.
yeah. So another thing with fall photography too is like specialized settings. And I know both of us are going to talk about a polarizer. I'll let you mostly talk, but since you're definitely more of the polarizer expert, but I definitely use one in the autumn a lot because it really cuts out that glare. And what I really like about it is that color enhancing. Without having to do a digital adjustment in your computer, you can get those nice colors and still make them look natural. So I love a polarizer for that.
Hmm. And it's neat. It's neat because like it knocks out like the reflections and like the rocks if you don't want that. If you want like a much more, I don't want to say flatter, but like it's much more. I don't know what the right word is. Like consistent, kind of like color palette. Like that's a much that filter is honestly like a gift almost to achieve that look with an image. Yeah, I mean, like most of the year, I do use a polarizer. I just like the look of it, and I don't mind, neglecting a step or two of light just to achieve that look. So it's definitely in the autumn. It's definitely a much needed filter, in my opinion, for most subject matter and forms of it.
Yeah. So what percentage of the time in autumn would you say you have a polarizer on your lens?
Anything that's not wildlife,
Wow, that's
I would
awesome.
basically use it, which is like that pretty much goes for most of the time of the year, anyway.
Do you ever find
And
the loss of light hard to deal with, or?
it can be. I mean, like if you're stuck in the woods and it's like way after dark and it's already like a cloudy, flat kind of light day, it's like it does get harder to see, or it gets darker the scene in front of you, and like your light meter is going to need to compensate for that, of course, because it gets darker in the woods usually. So yeah, I mean it does kind of like depend, but I mean like more often than not, I'm shooting on a tripod, so like that kind of cancels out any I guess drawbacks from that.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, and the effect's so much better. Any of the noise, it's probably worth it too. So.
Hmm. Yeah, but I'm a big tripod fan, like for stabilization and
Mm-hmm.
everything else.
Oh yeah.
Frees up your hands. Um, I know some people say to frame your composition handheld and then mount it on a tripod. I'm just guilty of using the tripod too much that like I over rely on that and I frame stuff up only from the movement of that. So
Uh-huh.
I don't know, but yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
goes
mean,
both ways.
but then sometimes like you can be holding a shot and then your tripod literally can't get the shot. So I think
Sure,
there's
yeah.
definitely pros and cons each way. And in those dark fall forests, especially on those cloudy days, you pretty much need a tripod if you want to get uh, like a really good, high quality, low ISO shot.
Yeah,
'Cause,
definitely. Yeah, I mean, like other than that, I mean, specialized settings. I'm trying to think of like what's really different or like what sets it apart from another season. I mean,
I
it's
mean, you said you use your wide angle lens. That's a little bit different than what you generally hear online. A lot of like landscape photographers say they use mostly like telephotos in the fall, so that's interesting how you go more wide angle there.
I mean, that's been a trend lately for me, anyways.
Uh huh.
But I would say I always use that. I mean, definitely I do. I like to use the telephoto with like a landscape image or something else. it really just depends. That's why we have more than one lens usually for most of us. So like that we have some options, and that makes it nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'll definitely be doing some landscapes with my 100 to 500, maybe even take some out at 500. So that'll be fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe go out to like the nearest body of water, like a big lake,
Uh-huh.
and just like zoom all the way in and pick apart like a small like, oh, this tree kind of sticks out to me, and try that out. So you might be surprised at the results.
Oh yeah.
Be fun to see those. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. Anything else you use in particular? Any camping gear or hiking gear or anything like that?
I mean, besides the usual like clothing, like we said, maybe like a down jacket, my skull cap, which is basically just like a lightweight kind of like wool. It's like not a thick layer, but it's like it keeps you warm, of course. Um, Usually it doesn't get too cold in autumn, but like I guess if it push comes to shove, like I will bust out the hand warmers early on. Um,
Hmm.
Other than that, I mean, just more layers, I guess. Usually I usually it's weird because I usually wear more gear as well. Like I have more on my back, which kind of keeps me warm, if that makes sense. It's weird. I don't know. I just subscribe to that theory. I don't know in my experience, but um, and usually I wear trail runner shoes, like the kind of like trail running hiking shoes in the summer or whatever, the warmer times of year. And in the fall, I usually switch out for my high top like waterproof boots because it usually gets wet, a lot of areas, and they're usually more insulated usually. So other than that, I mean, not too much else. I've never done a hammock. I've never done hammock camping in the fall, but that could be kind of cool.
Yeah,
I bet.
that's probably be a
Literally
little
and
bit cold.
figuratively.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
much more of a
Yeah.
tent kind of thing. I'm much more of a tent person, anyways. But like, or sleep in your car, I guess. I don't know, stuff like that at least. But
uh,
other than that, I mean, I don't know, stuff like that. Maybe I will recommend maybe for safety is like maybe some good pair of trekking poles, like carbon fiber ones, if you can afford it.
mhm.
Mainly because like I guess this is worth noting is like if you're in like maybe like a rocky terrain kind of woodland or somewhere like a mixed habitat, and there's tons of leaves on the ground, and you might trip over a rock or a tree root or something because you can't see it. That's the important thing to consider, just for some stability and just to catch yourself, I guess, um, uphill or downhill or just anywhere. Um, Other than that, I mean, like maybe if you're not prepared, I mean, I would be prepared personally, but like bring a headlamp if you're not used to the shorter times of day. And you're
Yeah.
like, wow, I'm way after dark. It's nice to have a headlamp, but I would say
Mhm.
that any time of year.
And
Really.
check your sunrise and sunset times because they get earlier in the fall. So, or the sunrise gets later and the sunset gets earlier. So, make sure you check those out.
Yeah, I'd say you should do anyways.
Yeah,
Get the best
but
shot,
just
get
like
the best light.
adjust. Remember it's not the same as summer.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I
Because
know I
like
sound like I.
you could
Go
get
ahead.
up at at summer up in Michigan. Like I'd get up at 5 a.m. to get out for the early morning light. But now you can sleep in a bit more, which is nice.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's a good point. I know I do shirk like the midday, high noon kind of light, but like on a sunny day. But like honestly, there's some beautiful conditions even then for like autumn images. So like don't neglect that, or maybe try shooting abstracts like I said. That could be a lot of fun too.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, during the
Yeah,
daylight could definitely be good for that.
definitely. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, is there anything else you'd like to add? Anything else?
I would say if it gets really cold, photography gloves. I got some last year, and they were definitely life changing. They got two fingers flip open on each hand. It's really just great for winter and fall photography. So
I will second that because I think it was last fall, winter time. I actually did buy a pair of those that it removes the index and the middle fingertips, and like they're honestly pretty nice. You know, nice. I think it's nice for what we do, and you can access the camera buttons a lot more easily. You don't have the big clunky like mittens or something gloves on. Um, squeeze that shutter and not have to worry
yeah,
about fussing around with a glove.
yeah. So I think that's pretty much it for autumn photography. Um,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. So thank you guys for listening. We're glad to be back after a break, and have a great day.
Yep. You too. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much for watching the All Outdoors Photography Podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and the video version on YouTube as well. You can subscribe down below, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you.